And we're going to go over here to Jamie. Hello, Jamie. You're up next.
Hey Bart, how are you?
Pretty good. Got a hand for us, Jamie?
Yep, have a hand for you today. So this hand is from a 2-5 game at Park Casino here in Vancouver, Canada. It's a 1500 max buy-in.
So Vancouver 1500 max?
Yeah, 1500 max.
Okay.
So for most of the time I've played this game, we've been playing the straddle game, so it usually plays 2-5-10.
I'm just trying to think about your accent. I'm sorry. Are you Irish?
Yeah, I'm from Dublin, Ireland. I'm
Ah,
living over here in Vancouver. I just recently
oh,
started
nice.
releasing some vlogs on YouTube.
Oh, okay. What's your YouTube channel?
The Irishman Poker.
Ah, see, I love Euros. Most of them hate me, but hopefully you don't take offense.
No, I definitely don't.
um, have I been to Dublin before? I think I was in Dublin once. I know I was in Limerick, Stab City. I don't remember. I went over to Ireland once, but I don't know if I was actually in Dublin. Cliffs of Moher, beautiful country.
If you ever want to play the craziest cash games
Yeah.
during the Irish Open, the Norwegian Championships run the week before. So the 2 weeks out there, there'll be like 85 cash tables running, and it's just the craziest action.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, so 2.5 Vancouver Canadian dollars, 2.5 loonies, 1500 max. Okay.
So for this hand, middle position calls the 10, the straddle's on.
Okay, so we got a straddle from the natural UTG.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have a game on where if anyone doesn't have their straddle out before the second card, we put 25 in a kitty, and when it hits 75, we get a round of drinks for the table.
Oh, sounds like a fun game. Hopefully they
Yeah.
have some like Jameson or Bushmills too.
Yeah, the good JMO.
Okay, so MP limbs, yeah.
So we look down at the Ace of Clubs, King of Hearts on the button, and we raise it up to $50.
All right, so one straddle pot. Hero has Ace King off on the button, making it 50. Okay. How deep are you guys, by the way?
And so I'm the effective stack with $1,900.
1900. Okay. Well, with the straddle on, so just
Yeah,
under 200 BBs. Okay.
yeah. So it falls to the big blind, and he three bets to $200.
Okay. And the limper folds, I assume?
The limper folds, and I think we have a decision here. I think we can four bet sometimes and call. I think obviously if this is 100 big blinds deep, I'm always going to four bet. I think nearly 200 big deep. I like flatten here sometimes, but I'd still always four bet ace king suited.
Well, I mean, you're supposed to put in the extra bet with aces and ace king suited almost always as a balance. I will say, though, when you say 100 BBs, I mean, obviously I don't know the dynamic up there in Vancouver, but if you were to always four bet ace king off, then obviously you're always getting it in. Does ace king off get in good in the games that you're playing here to like a five bet all in?
100 big blinds deep. Probably it's not a terrible
Uh huh.
shove all in. I think like players are definitely pretty arrow up here, but the standard in the game is also pretty decent. There is a lot of regs.
Mm-hmm. That was the only thing that sort of caught out me. I think I would be doing more calling here with ace king off than putting in the four bet at the stacked up with position. Did you call?
Yeah, I ended up calling.
All right, so here are calls with ace king off, three bet pot, and obviously again isolation too. I don't know how these players are paying attention, but you might be wider in this guy's eyes than you actually are. I mean, you're really fairly far up because sometimes people will overdo like attacking limps because a limp is obviously fishy. They look at it like free money, so he might be like, "Oh, you're raising, and I'm just going to re-raise something that's not as strong because you're isolating the limper." But okay, so you call and the pot's probably like 420, something like that.
Yeah, it's 420. And I also agree with what you're saying there. I think sometimes it's nice to call this hand here because so the villain is a young, good reg. So I think he's going to be three betting like a bunch of aces here and probably nearly all suited aces. So when we call and it comes ace high, we
Yeah, you can kind of cooler him. You can kind of cooler him. I assume that you're going to be continuing on a lot of flops where you miss
yeah,
also too, right? I mean, the only ones where I might find folds here in this type of thing is if it comes out like, 8-9 queen, something like that with a two flush not on your suit, something like that, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So flop comes down ace of spades, queen of spades, five of clubs.
Okay. And you've got ace of clubs, king of hearts. So you flop top pair.
Yeah.
Okay.
and the big blind bets 160.
Wait a minute, I have to interject here. Mathmagical 55 says, I'm never clear on whether Bart includes us Brits as Euros. Well, first of all, this guy's Irish. So that's different. I almost got killed. There is a guy, when I was in Limerick, we took a cab. I said, because I spent several semesters in London, I said, it's great to be back in the British Isles. The
Oh
guy
no.
literally looked like he wanted to kill me, this
Yeah,
cabbie from Limerick.
that's not going to go down well.
All right, so ace queen five with a couple of spades. Okay.
So he bets 160, and I'd expect him on this board to just be betting range 100%.
So 160 into 420. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And we end up calling. But do you have any thoughts on potentially raising this flop with ace king exactly?
I wonder if I think that maybe you do more raising if the board is not distributed in this manner, quite the same. Like if it was ace 3-3 or ace 5 deuce or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Ace 8-5. I'd feel more comfortable just because, you've got a range of ace queen in here and queen queen too, right? So it's more hands.
Yeah.
You also have position here too, and I don't know. I mean, the pot's going to be just under 800, and you guys have already put in 300, so it's not like you need to build to get the money in either, right?
Yeah, true.
You're going to be able to get it in across two streets, so I like a call here.
So we end up calling,
Yep.
and the turn comes the 5 of diamonds. So it's ace queen 5-5. So obviously now all aces, bar ace king and ace queen chop.
Right. Yep. So, and there's less of a chance that he has ace 5
Yeah, there's
suited
only
now
one
too.
combo left. It's ace
Right.
5 or half, I think, is the only combo left.
Right, looking at the distribution of suits, ace of spades, queen of spades, 5 of clubs, 5 of diamonds, which means there's only one combo of ace 5 suited, obviously, left. Okay.
And I think I would also still expect him to probably barrel this turn with a lot of bluffs he barreled the flop with when he's going to have such a range advantage. And I'm probably calling a lot more 3-bets from the button compared to if I was in early position. So I would expect him still, a lot of hands he bluffs the flop with, probably to continue bluffing.
Before you tell me what he bets, this is interesting. I think that this might be a good example. I remember when I was doing some work for Poker King and stuff like this, one of the ways that they would go and look at how, if they thought somebody was using RTA, which is real-time assistance on a computer online, if somebody was playing kind of it's kind of like the chess cheating scandal, they would mirror like how a solver would play with very non-human, non-intuitive types of bets. The reason why I bring this up on this turn card is like, for whatever reason that we can't explain off the top of our head, maybe like 7-8 suited partial of hearts is double barreled here, but 7-8 of clubs or diamonds is not, for whatever reason. I'm just making this up as I go along, because the reason why I bring that up is because I do wonder, like, if he has nothing here, like a suited connector that literally is nothing, how often is that double barrel? Because you had brought that up, is that he's double barreling a lot.
Yeah. I mean, probably from his point of view, if he thinks that I'm going to, like, probably, which I am probably going to have to start folding a lot of, like, my 10s and jacks on the turn if he barrels, he might be inclined to fire with a lot of bluffs.
And you might have to fold out some queen X too, right?
Yeah,
some of the time.
The only queen X would probably continue a turn lot is like probably king queen. I think the rest of our queens probably have to fold. So if he thinks that he might start, like the no equity bluffs, as you said, the 7-8 suited, he might just go fire once more. And if I call, then he'll probably just give up.
Yeah. Okay. So what does he do here?
So he bets 375.
So that's an in-between half-pot sizing, which is usually not really represented all that much in this particular spot. It's usually going to be 1/3 or obviously 2/3. I mean, if he went 2/3 or 1/3, it's probably still all the same, I would say. So he's going in this particular case. But I mean, I think the way that you've played it here, you've got a square call again, I assume.
Yeah, so we end up calling again.
So straddle bets 375 and hero calls. So now you put in 750. So now the pot is probably just a hair over 1,500. And you guys have about, 1,100, 1,200 left? Something like that?
1165 left
Yeah.
on the river.
Okay.
It's 1490 in the middle, so
Yeah.
just about $1,500.
Okay. Ace Queen 5-5. Okay, now what's the river?
Comes to Jack of clubs.
Jack of clubs.
Yeah. So obviously, I think sometimes he can have some King 10 suited stuff.
Well, you lose to Ace Jack now too. Sometimes people miss that, right? You lose to Ace Jack now too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he shoves.
Wow, this is a dicey one, huh?
I tanked for a good time on the river because it's like we're obviously at the top of our range, but like, are players in this game ever just going to blast off with some bluffs here? I mean, obviously a solver is, but I don't think players in game, especially when I call 2 streets.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, you have to. There has to be just some airball bluffs here in order for you to call, right? I mean, there's a lot of thick value here that you lose to, right? Ace Queen, if he's 3-betting off Ace Queen a lot, obviously like Queen Queen, once in a, I mean, there's one combo of Ace Ace, and I wonder if he even takes this line with like Ace King, with front door spades busting out. I don't even know if he takes this line. I mean, it is just one pot, but it's pretty dicey though. And then like Ace 10 or other suited aces just seem to be just overplaying, I feel like,
Yeah, I agree.
And of course you lose to one combo of Ace 5, which is another thing. So it's all the Ace Queens, Ace 5, Queen Queen, one combo of Ace Ace. And you're losing to Ace Jack here too, which is interesting. Definitely a lot of different sort of variables. You said 1,200 all in, something like that?
1165 was the all in.
Wow. Well, I think you hit the nail on the head, Mr. Irishman, Jamie, that, man, in order to call here, you got to think that the villain's finding enough bluffs here in this particular spot. And there's maybe only one or two guys off the top of my head that I've even seen that would be capable or that would ever try to run this, capable in a good way, as opposed to like just, maniacally bad. So I can kind of see a fold here. I think it's probably pretty close. I wonder if you're somewhat indifferent here too. Some people saying Jack. I don't think Jack takes this line here.
Yeah, it's like in game it seemed really close because like I was trying to figure out what do I need to be calling with.
Yeah,
and I had a friend run it.
And by the way, there's probably, if you had a friend run it through, I bet you are there other aces that are probably like called down before Ace King for whatever unblocking and blocking properties?
Yeah. So there was it was sometimes calling Ace 10, and then what it tended to do was it was always folding Ace King with the King of Spades, and then calling when we don't have the King of Spades.
So you're supposed to call when you don't have the King of Spades here.
Yeah.
Were there any other aces that were called for some reason too? Do you remember?
It was at a really small frequency. It was calling some of the aces that shop for some reason. Like it was like Ace 9, Ace 8. But obviously the solver was given, like you said, a hand like 7, 8 of hearts. That was actually a hand where the solver was overbetting the turn and shoving the river if it was
right.
Villain. I don't think anyone is doing that.
Right, and I didn't know that, but it makes perfect sense. And that's where I said when you could see like when somebody online always finds the right frequency. That's how they find the RTA guys. You know what I mean? So what did you do? What did you end up doing?
So we ended up calling and lost to Ace Queen.
And do you regret the call now? Like, what if you were to? Can't you node lock out the if you were to node lock out the no equity bluffs? Like if you took 7, 8 suited out of the villain's range. Do you know how that would affect the output?
I didn't actually check that, but I think I'm still kind of unsure because I find it like when I was trying to find bluffs from, I was like, does he ever have, say, King Jack that has to go to rivers a pair that he knows is no good and he's going to go with that as a bluff? But I generally find in them spots where we start trying to find bluffs for people, probably we should fold when there isn't too many natural bluffs.
Right.
But it was the first time playing with this player. Now, we had played for a couple of hours and he seemed like a pretty solid reg. I hadn't really seen him make any mistakes.
No, that's an interesting one, Jamie. I appreciate the call. I think is this the first time you've ever called before?
Yeah, this is the first time.
Yeah, definitely keep submitting. I would love to hear from you again. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time, Bart.
All right.